age. Nothing all too crazy going on for him here.
Yeah, I guess the only notable inclusion in the priest list is Cabal Shadow Priest, which I suppose has gained a little bit more popularity now that priests are more all in on the control game plan and just making sure they can consistently have a lockdown on the early board. Um, Tyler, again, rocking the drippy drip, as you call it, but also some balloons in the background. I wonder if somebody had a birthday recently.
Yeah, I know it was on stream. I can't remember if it was him or maybe his sister who was having a birthday. I remember he was having quite the party on stream, we'll put it that way at least, which quite rapidly deteriorated when he tried to join our group for a gaming session, and I think was in no fit state of play. We'll leave it at that. But now I'm sure he is, with the Bomb Warrior up against the Malagos Druid. I guess you could argue that finally here for DawN, the Malagos Druid has found one of the reasons to play Mali over Survival Package.
I actually feel that both the druids are in a good spot against Bomb Warrior. I'm not sure if it's skewed significantly more in favor of Mali than Bomb Warrior, but the other thing I wanted to note is that the bans are actually flipped around from the matchup you see right now. Tyler's Warrior is not available Tyler's Druid is not available for play, which the same can be said for DawN's Warrior. Oh, another sticky finger. That's just so funny to me after yesterday.
Tyler's best friend in the world is sticky finger now, with it not being found in time for Chauncey to take the win.
Made to fit.
Well, tempoing out, that sounds good to me. From Tyler's perspective, he's still very possibly facing down Overgrowth into Animal Companion. He needs to be playing aggressive here, and I agree with his choices.
Sorry, Overgrowth into Animal Companion just
into Guardian
my mind
Animals.
a little bit.
Sorry. Obviously, that would not be quite so powerful from the Druid side, and also impossible.
For Tyler, though, I think it's good recognition that although on first glance you might like to save your Armor Smith for first healing later on against a deck that has a bunch of combo damage potential, I think it's much more important that Tyler puts on the offensive here, because I think the best game plan for him is just getting the Wrench Calibers down, getting any extra damage to the Dome as early as possible, getting Blastmaster Boom down before the Malagos combo can be put together.
Only one line, though, really here for DawN, and it's a pretty big deal, to be fair. Not so much in terms of stopping the damage, but I'd argue more just to stop the Battle Rage here, because that was starting to gear up to be a pretty powerful turn for Tyler.
Already expending the upgrade on the Ankar just to clean off Ghidra nicely. It's not the nicest feeling. And the double Horde Villagers, but no Wrench Caliber in the pool just yet. It's a big yikes from me.
It's not ideal, but it's still drawing cards, right? It's getting him closer to that Wrench Caliber. And with Battle Rage available, you know, Sticky Finger with Risky Skipper, anything you can do to get it done is a big deal. And there it is off the top anyway.
But this turn is quite awkward to use it with. Probably still just take the last charge on the Ankar. But then again, if you want the Horde Pillagers down as soon as possible, then you want to get the full charges off of Wrench Caliber as soon as possible.
I wonder if it's just like Blade Storm and then maybe even Battle Rage. You don't especially need many cards at this point. Like, you have most of the makings of a winning hand already.
That's fair.
I wonder.
Yourself up the last skipper with this.
Okay, fair enough. I don't hate holding onto the Battle Rage at all. I was more just thinking maybe you spend your mana while you have it available.
It's close for sure. But he does technically have the next couple turns spoken for, even if it's just Wrench Caliber hero power. The Overgrowth draw for DawN is insane, because now he can play Geppetto on the next turn. Forest Warden Omu is a big one to cheapen. Ysera Unleashed is a big one to cheapen, but there's still quite a few beasts that would be kind of a whiff.
Indeed. Still looking like it could come together, though, in the next few turns for DawN. It's going to be a race, though. Tyler's starting to ramp up. I really wouldn't be surprised to just see Blastmaster Boom on the very next turn. Geppetto with double Moonfire now, though.
Oh.
If DawN can get himself, I don't know, Umu, Alex Straza, there is some potential here.
There's the Alec.
Okay.
Prioritize the card draw. Man, if that were Omu, could have been looking at some serious damage, because then for DawN, it would be available for him to germinate the Malagos instead.
Gotta kill off that.
Then you hope to hit the 50-50 with the Horde Pillager, I can only imagine.
Is he playing
Or
Boom?
he's just going Boom right now?
Oh, really?
Okay.
With Corsair Cash in hand? Like...
I don't know. I think I would go for the Horde Pillager personally, but...
Okay, fair.
There's wasted no time.
It is a 7/7 as well. You know, you got to remember, it's not just getting maximum boom bots.
Big deal. And a decent shot of dealing with the Geppetto straight up.
But,
I bring life.
wait,
Wait,
that's
not lethal?
lethal! That's just game!
Yeah! Oh my god, what? Because the Geppetto's stuck.
The Geppetto's stuck, and he just gets double Moonfire. Okay.
I mean, he had double Moonfire even before this draw, but I just wasn't expecting the 6 damage to stay on board.
Yeah.
One way to close it out.
I don't think DawN was expecting that either. He looks kind of confused at having taken the win there, to be perfectly honest. It's not the way that you're usually winning as Malagos Druid, because you want to get the ramp going a little bit sooner, but I mean, fair to him. He didn't have many options that game, but I think he piloted all of them pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, it was looking a little bit scary if the Geppetto had not stuck, because suddenly he was looking at a hand of Alex Straza Malagos game-closing damage, but if I cash it in all too early, and then Tyler has the clear plus armor, then suddenly he's lost a win condition altogether. I have to say, I am kind of unsure of Tyler's line there of going for early Dr. Boom, but if I recall, I don't think there was a way to guaranteed kill off the Geppetto without face tanking it anyway, so it was going to be a tough spot no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if Tyler knew his opponent's hand, the play he went for was probably the best one, unless he wants to try and just like win a 50-50 brawl, which I believe he had in hand, which, you know, is also something to consider, but I think on average weaker than his line, which could have stuck him a Blastmaster Boom on the board. First win going to DawN is a pretty big deal. Druid, I think, was not especially weak for him in that series compared to how it has been for some other competitors, given that Tyler has both the Warrior and the Priest, which it could have matched up against. But I think it definitely gets a little bit harder now for DawN. The rest of his decks do feel like they line up a little bit worse.
Indeed, but I do think that Tyler has gotten himself at least a decent matchup for the next one, because he has queued up Priest into DawN's Mage, which, you know, as the history of this matchup has progressed, it feels like it's just kind of teetered around 50-50 or a little bit in favor of either end. Do you think that Mage is in a better spot or a worse spot now that Priests have gone for the more streamlined 2-ofs approach?
In my opinion, I feel like it's definitely in a slightly worse spot. Priest can just lock down the board pretty efficiently at the start of the game, in my opinion. And we're going to have to see whether or not the Priest can get the job done in the rest of the series. When we come back from this short break for the last match of the day, we'll see you shortly. In the midst of the last matchup of the day for Asia Pacific, it is Tyler up against DawN for our final match. Still plenty more Hearthstone to come, of course, with Europe and Americas. For whichever player you want to catch, you can always subscribe to the Hearthstone YouTube channel so you're notified when we go live, or head to playhearthstone.com/esports to get all the information on the schedule, the decks that people are playing, and any information you need about the cohesiveness of how our esports system works here in Hearthstone. But from the big picture down to the small picture, here, DawN having taken a win up against Tyler right out the gate. But I was saying that personally, I think he may have got the easy matchup out of the way first of all.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the Druid was in a great spot up against Tyler's lineup as a whole. But as we were talking about before the break, the next matchup will be between Tyler's Priest and DawN's Mage. Now, Priest is a class that I thought would be seeing a lot more representation in APAC, at least for this week, but it ended up just being 5 people bringing it, and different archetypes at that. 2 of those priests, I think, were heavily teched for weapon removal, just trying to target bomb warriors. And while DawN is bringing bomb warrior, Tyler's priest is not one of those variants.
Right, yes. It does feel like it's slightly more well-rounded. I think I'm still kind of back and forth on whether I like the build that runs Galacrond or no Galacrond. I will say, however, that I am a big fan of the versions that run Sethic Veilweaver. I think way too many lists have been cutting it, and you really feel it. Like, for example, with Rivius's list earlier on today, no Sethic Veilweavers, and it just felt like they didn't do anything. I know there's some other threats that are being missed, but Mind Flayer Kaj, Sethic Veilweaver, plus the Cabal Acolyte and Cabal Shadow Priest, this list from Tyler actually has the ability to win games. It doesn't just exhaust your opponent, and I think that's worth so much in the current metagame.
True. I think Tyler's and Chonsu's Priest were of the true control variant, where they do run almost nothing on top of their healing and removal and weapon removal packages. But from Tyler, I think we're seeing a Priest that has better matchups across the board, and it'll definitely help him against this Mage. Already Sethic in the opener and One Thief. I feel like that's one of the best ways to just try and fight back against Mage, is getting on board before they can put together the big apprentice combos.
Yeah, I mean, this is frankly an insane start from Tyler. He's got Sethic Veilweaver, which he could just like plop down now if he wants to, because he knows he's guaranteed a res with Raised Edge shortly after. Very clean.
Yep, and not to mention it just challenges the Wand Maker pretty cleanly as well. For DawN, it looks like he's going to settle for a 1-draw cram session, but it at least allows him to combo out the One Thief.
Yeah, that's the kicker here. That's what you're trying to do. Thoughts, like, ever since I've seen Blitzchung go with like the tempo evocation, I'm trying to keep in my mind, can you play evocation on this turn? I think the answer is no. There's not quite enough stuff that make it worth it here to clear the board. So I do agree. It seems like cram session One Thief.
We also saw Surrender do tempo evocation
Oh, right,
earlier on
yes,
this
indeed.
weekend, which is, you know, very justifiable when you have Mana Giant in hand. So it's still possible that we see that in the near future, but probably not earlier than 5 mana. And here the train begins. This is so crucial to have additional value generation to Priest.
Oh, Draconic Studies
Nice
looks
studies?
pretty premium, I think. Here.
I thought so too. But Holy Nova is a way to clear apprentice boards without having to expend Soul Mirror.
I think Embalming Ritual here is a bit of a bait. I think you want to save the coin here for more flexibility with Soul Mirror.
Yeah, getting that down one turn earlier can be such a big deal, so I like the discipline from Tyler. Oh, another evocation.
Ooh. All right, well, we're getting closer to the point where you just throw down evocation. You know, you can get a secret. Here it could have got combustion to clear a board. Again, not saying it was necessarily the play there, but always something to consider.
Absolutely. If DawN finds Apprentice anytime in the near future, I think he will be very happy to throw down the first evocation since the other one was generated. Having to use both cram sessions for one draw hurts, but I mean, that is the other reason for evocation, right? It can just function as pseudo card draw or
That's
a way
right.
to spend your mana that turn. Okay. A-Wing, cheapest option. But Twin Tyrant can be kind of backbreaking for Mage in certain situations.
I mean, I'm tempted by Deathwing, to be perfectly honest.
Oh, okay.
I think, like, when you have a hand like this that at the moment feels like it does pretty much everything, I like just having a backup plan in case everything goes wrong.
Oh, man.
Maybe I'm
Feels
overestimating.
like a long way off before you're able to play Deathwing happily, but Tyler agrees. Okay.
Yeah, like it's obviously very, very possible that I'm overestimating how good this hand is, but I just think he's got himself in such a good spot already.
I mean, when you just think about Deathwing as game plan E, assuming A, B, C, and D haven't worked, I feel like that you would much rather have that against something like Druid, where they don't tend to have a good response against it. But if you go Deathwing and Mage has one freeze, is that even a good backup plan, is my question.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, I think it's just because he's winning anyway. Like, the other cards in his hand don't do anything that his hand doesn't already do. Like, you only need them if they're significantly better than the plays you're already doing. And I think he has development, he has removal, he has heal. It's Deathwing is not a great contingency plan for sure, but it's something.
That's fair. Last thing I'm going to argue is the development that Tyler has comes at the cost of hand space. So I still kind of like Evasive Worm as a card you can play that actually leaves your hand space. But anyway, DawN is finally starting to cheapen his mana giant. Elemental allies look pretty premium because this could be a Cyclone turn into a giant turn.
Yeah, I think he, unless he wants to go for the clear, would have almost certainly ended with the allies there, but instead he's just going with the tempo line here and still ends up not having cleared the Sethic Veilweaver. This is so much value.
It hurts a lot, and this Holy Nova is looking really great for Tyler,
Yeah.
but for DawN's play, the upside, I suppose, is creating the most hand space for a tempo evocation on the next turn, which is also
true.
a way of cheapening your giant. And if you go for the side quest activation, it's kind of anti-synergy with evocation, for the meantime at least.
But now the question is, Holy Nova, obviously fantastic here, but again, you're in the lead. Do you ever play Mass Dispel just to get rid of the death rattles? I love this.
Okay. That's 2 less good top decks for DawN.
You're taking damage right now, absolutely, but you reap the rewards afterwards.
I'm on board.
Wings of destruction they
You
come.
just take a 1-cost spell to not overdraw here.
Yeah.
Or you could say my hand is just good enough and I don't need to draw anything.
Just play evocation to get out of your hand.
I mean, we're talking about tempo evocation. This is certainly not what
Sure.
I meant by it, but oh my goodness. Tyler just has the actual embarrassment of riches that he just says, I don't want an evocation.
Exactly. I mean, like, for the next 5 turns, I think it's almost impossible to make it give more than 2 or 3 spells.
True.
Unless you just jammed it.
Another Solarian.
Okay. Maybe that one will get
Cannot
through.
stop DawN from getting his prime.
Crush your delusions of grandeur.
That may be so, but he can get his own one in the meantime with a Soul Mirror, which means primes on both sides. Things get a little bit more sketch.
Oh, yes, they do. First evocation. Everything is expensive.
Yeah, I think you just play any secret to bluff counterspell and then throw down your giant.
Or without Punch in hand, you probably do just play
Yeah.
the giant to activate your elemental allies with Cyclone the next turn.
I think it's smart. The combustion was nice there, of course, but Soul Mirror is the disaster play, and this does to an extent play around that.
And if Tyler thinks this is counterspell, it is completely disastrous for him.
Yeah.
It takes far too much damage, so the secret play from DawN pays off
Winds of
in
destruction
multitudes here.
come.
Unless this pulls Shadow or Death, it does not though. Tyler's only running one copy, to be fair.
If he'd... okay, it was 1 mana off. I was going to say he should have started probably with the... I mean, he should probably still have started here with this one just to see what happens. But he couldn't have gone Cabal Acolyte plus the Wave of Apathy, or the Cabal Shadow Priest, sorry, on the same turn here.
And he takes Renew in this instead, because he's just so healthy that he doesn't mind face tanking the 8th giant.
We're looking for Conjurer's Calling, and that's a miss.
And now is the question of how do you optimize being able to fit in the mana cycle? Can you even do that, assuming that, you know, you complete the side quest, so you draw 3 afterward?
True, true.
I feel like he's missing cards one way or another.
Was
Whether
he
it's
supposed
overdraw.
Was he supposed to just start with Mana Cyclone there to try and find Conjurer's Calling naturally from his deck?
Yeah, that makes
Maybe,
sense
right?
to me.
Like, if he misses, he's still hitting some good stuff, right? You can hit Primordial Studies, which is good. You can just play out the lab partner afterwards. If he needed to, he could still even go Evocation after that if he really needed something.
Right, and if he ends with Mana Cyclone here, it generates 4 spells, I think, and then you draw 3. And so you're not drawing at all?
He literally just
Yeah,
deletes...
you're just overdrawing. That's
3
so
spells.
strange.
Okay, I mean, if we want to be very generous here, not technically bad, because you don't necessarily want spells at this point. You want to hit the beefier
Okay.
minions in your deck. So it, in a way, it does thin your deck to the good stuff.
But it's kind of like saying, well, based on the order of that you would rather have more random spells than 3 spells in your deck, which I would disagree with because his main priority was trying to get Conjurer's Calling.
Even then, that's arguable, right? Like, if you generate 1 Power of Creation or 1 Puzzle Box, does that make up for the difference?
Oh, maybe, if he feels he's that far behind.
Yeah. I do still think there was a better way to go about that, sure.
Well, fact remains, there is a 3rd evocation in DawN's hand, which he sorely needed to be able to come back after the Soul Mirror turn from Tyler. Yeah, play the Ancient Mysteries to create hand space for the Evo next turn.
Ooh,
Tyler's just had too much stuff. All these dragons, no time to be played out on the left side of his hand.
Yeah, I think now is the time to start actually trying to fight back for the board. Tyler has obviously been in 0 danger of dying for a very long time here, but he hasn't been winning. Now it's the time to lock down the board and start actually taking the win.
Rolling Fireball plus Ping is a full clear, and he can set up the Vaporize, has a little bit more space for Evocation next turn. But it certainly does feel like DawN needs a miracle, whether it's a way to generate Fox off of Evocation, or a way to get the Prime sooner.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't think he's in quite so terrible of a situation here. I think the Evocation, if he can get a good Power of Creation, maybe a Deep Freeze, find Conjurer's Calling and top deck Giant, there are outs other than Puzzle Box here for sure, even if they're getting slimmer.
Okay. I want the cheapest thing. Tyler needed space to play all his stuff. But there are 2 zero-cost things, so...
I still kind of want mind control. I know my hand's so expensive here.
Oh my gosh!
But like, I don't know. If your opponent plays a big threat, you want to steal it, right?
Greed Lord. But that's your entire turn.
Right,
And Mage
then you're
can
winning.
generate counter spells and spellbenders. I don't know.
Okay.
I like the shield with the pyro. That's semi-removal. There's
Oh.
your power of creation.
Okay. Even a primordial studies as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great.
that's good.
Okay, now we're talking. Tyler might finally have to do something of substance. Eye Stalker.
Yeah. I don't especially care about clearing the board.
You feel bad about Plague of Death, but, you know, at some point, Tyler is gonna have it. And if you don't generate a board now, he'll never even need to play it.
Okay, you have Violet Warden and strictly worse Violet Warden as well, so we'll take that from there. It's crazy, like even with the 3rd evocation that he's played this game, he still just has no value in his hand.
I know, I mean, the second one was extremely sketchy to me.
Yeah.
A simple spell.
Wow, Tyler's like, this doesn't even warrant a Plague of Death. I thought with double Death Rattle minions on the board, you'd take that.
He knew that it wasn't counterspell, right? After the previous turn? I'm pretty sure.
I mean, fair play, I suppose. He has a decent board of his own,
Yeah.
which
yeah,
if
yeah.
DawN doesn't clear, then Apotheosis becomes pretty threatening indeed.
Yeah, I mean, I guess again, you're just kind of afraid of what if something worse happens? What if the Prime casts like double Power of Creation or something like that?
And then he still has Galakron, and then he has Deathwing. Not even Plan E like I thought, it's Plan Z.
Yeah.
Oh, another Prime generator.
Yes, correct. I mean, really, you're looking for any way to kill it off the turn you play it here, because you don't care about the 3/2 body much at all.
I mean, if you play it on a wide board, the odds that it gets stolen are very low. Okay, DawN is back on board. This is definitely a much bigger Plague of Death, much more impactful than was last turn.
Not even close. You even get a Prime to boot here to get rid of as well.
Imagine he just ripped the Deathwing.
I'm offended that he even looked at Deathwing there. If he even sees those pixels on his screen, I'm going to send him an angry message.
That he even hovered it, which I believe was strictly just because he hovered Plague of Death and moved it left.
Still too close. Still too close.
This is an insta-plague. Right? Is he trying to somehow fit his own cards in to get another Prime? I think that's going far too deep on this.
Yeah.
It's an insta-plague.
Yeah.
And if he's worried about needing Pyro procs, I don't see an immediate need to use any of these one-cost spells either. He looked at Deathwing again, Tyler. I mean, Derek. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I feel great that you confused me with Tyler. I'll take that as a huge compliment. I think I'd much rather be him than me. I'm still very offended, though, that he even considered the Deathwing there.
Charged.
Yeah.
Galakron. Gone with an out for the single Prime draw in his deck.
Yep.
He's played 4 Solarians, but only managed to get 1 Prime in the deck.
Oh!
Oh no!
No! And like, I mean, this is where it's worth bringing up that turn again, right? Because I was being extremely generous at the time in saying it's not strictly wrong because you don't want to draw the spells. But in actual Daruk opinion world, it does just mean that in this situation, he has no spells left to play, no value. He should have so much more value with this game plan. He really missed out on a tremendous amount of value, card generation, whatever you want over the course of this game.
Well, I was gonna say his one saving grace is that Tyler didn't have any minion development. He just rips the Disciplinarian Gandling and Raise Dead on super cheap minions to immediately activate it, and now DawN is facing a clock of his own.
It's insane. As Raven would say, Dark Lord Gandling into Dark Lord Gandling. The absolute dream.
Yep, that's the 1-1 and a ping to spend your 10 mana turn.
No, you ping your own guy. Evocation. Oh no, ping your own guy. Missiles, Cyclone, Evocation. And then you're winning.
Okay.
Is Tyler looking at playing the Deathwing here? Like, you get a 4/7, you get a Violet Warden out of the Kaj. Jam it, dude. Let's close this game.
I just want to see Gandling just blowing up the other Gandling to make a 4/4 because there can only be one.
Uh-huh. That's a dead Gandling.
Well, he can play Murazond as a real 8/8 now. 10 out of 10 play.
What, get a 1/1? That overdraws him a card if it dies. Okay. Again, does not matter.
Oh my god. I'm sorry. This is hilarious.
So,
At this point, I think you actually do just ping it.
I mean, yes, but at the same time, could you just tank this for another turn? You take 20 damage, which is a lot, obviously, but like,
Actually,
you need a
you're right.
super miracle, right? Like, you need to be going in the fringes of possibility to even have a chance now for DawN.
Sure. Yeah, so you can give yourself one more turn to draw either Prime or another spell to fit in the Cyclone turn, because at this point he needs like Blizzard into Blizzard into Box or something like that.
To be fair, maybe you go play your Spell Wing, ping it, double missiles, play the Cyclone and hold back the Apprentice? Is that the line? You can have a chance at Puzzle Box for next turn?
Or... Oh wait, in this card is a Violet Warden, right?
Yeah.
Do you even have a chance of giving Tyler more damage? Does it ever give him lethal? The double Apotheosis, and with the Pyro giving Tyler a way to proc his own Spellwing, maybe it was just lethal if the Violet Warden had popped out there.
Is it lethal here? You have 5
Oh yeah,
plus 5, it's just
Oh, yeah.
lethal.
it still is.
Yeah. Order, correct.
Exactly. Plus the
Oh! 1 over!
activation for 1 over.
Okay, that's kind of cool. Oh, and there it is. Tyler taking, I mean, from start to finish, just a dominant display on the Priest. Tyler had absolutely nothing to worry about at all that series. And to be honest, it's because DawN didn't give him much to worry about over the course of that series. He just kind of lost out on value when, I think with the way you see people play Mage against Priest most of the time, you do want to be a little bit greedier than that, I think, with a lot of the plays.
Mm-hmm. I just find it funny how we spent a full 2 turns arguing about what dragon to pick when it was absolutely irrelevant in the grand scheme of that match. For DawN, I really think that there were better ways to go about the second evocation. The first and the third, I don't fault him for whatsoever, and it was kind of unfortunate that the only turn he had real development was walking right into a Plague of Death, but super well played from Tyler. He wasn't, baited by an early what was that, coin embalming ritual, wasn't baited by an early Plague of Death. There were tons of windows where he could have slipped up and maybe missed one window of clearing DawN's threats, but he did not do that whatsoever.
Yeah, I think he just understood exactly what you're looking to do in the matchup. Like, not taking the Holy Nova, instead going for the Master Spell to play around Solarian Primes. Like, he knew he was in the lead, and you're already thinking there, what can go wrong? How can I possibly lose this? Solarian Prime is usually the answer. He shut that down. The Priest gets a win. Very nice for Tyler. Looking like a strong build of the deck as well, I've got to say. I like the way he's gone with that, with the version of the deck that I feel like a lot of the players brought to Masters Tour Montreal. I think like Xerios, Dead Draw, and Bunny were 3 of the players who were practicing together and brought a lineup very, very similar to this one. But with that out of the way, now the Priest moving aside, it means Tyler's going to be going with the Warrior, which we're getting to see again this week, as it feels like more and more players are moving away from the ban Warrior strategy.
It is indeed, but Tyler has not found himself an opponent who is hard targeting it. Not that Tyler even minds if they are, because he still managed to beat Chonsu yesterday. And I think this matchup is pretty good for the Warrior overall. The part where they can struggle, I would say, is towards the mid game, especially against the double glaive bound, double lapidary lists.
Right.
If you miss removal on one of those and they're able to connect phase, sometimes that's over the line.
I've definitely seen that more and more. The Demon Hunter, if they can stick any kind of board, feels like they're in a good spot. But I think Tyler, with the Pirate build of the deck, originally when I compare Pirate versus non-Pirate Born Warrior against Demon Hunter, the first instinct is to say Pirate is good because it gains more armor with Armor Smith and Risky Skipper. But low-key, just being able to clear off all these boards at the start of the game, now that players are putting in Vassal Fiends as well, it's worth quite a lot to not take chip damage at the start if you can hit it.
Yeah, very significant, I would agree. And also being able to cycle a little bit more consistency is nothing to scoff at. Tyler deciding to send this to the face is pretty interesting to me. I thought he would set up a 2-turn clear on these, or at least one of the 1/3s.
Yeah, we kind of have to consider like what he wants to do, because there is still the possibility for a clear, of course, with Skip Barov, depending on what is developed on this following turn. Or there is the line of ignoring this board completely, because again, we've been focusing on Demon Hunter being the aggressor on this matchup. If you don't have that kind of mentality that you are being aggressive-sized upon as the Warrior, you can just go for the counter leaf, I think with surprising swiftness.
That's fair. I think if he had seen DawN go for a bigger development that turn, then it made sense to hold on to Skipper Barov as a full clear. But more likely, I think Tyler just wanted to upgrade the Ankar so that the damage would line up more cleanly against the Spirit Jailers. But now DawN begins to fight back, and he has, a decent curve going into Militia if he wants to. This is the third set of Soul Fragments shuffled into the deck.
Yeah, if he wants to go Coin Militia, then you're looking at Soulshare next turn, which doesn't fill out the mana curve perfectly. I think what is more likely is just like swing, re-equip, and then Militia on turn 7.
Right. He actually has the full 6 fragments in deck right now.
Oh wow,
it's
really?
reasonably likely that he'll draw one by then. Yeah, double Jailers and the Marrow Slicer.
Fair point.
Okay, 5. But this is still a clean Shard Shatter if you want it. Alternatively, Soul Fragment. You really don't want to coin the Horde Pillager because of the Militia coined out.
Am I crazy for wanting to go Soulshare into Shard Shatter on this turn, just to juice up that Militia as much as possible?
It's not crazy, but I feel like the difference between one extra 3/3 is very marginal, because the Warriors' answers will still be the same, right? It's either the Barov Clear or the Brawl or the Bladestorm, all of which are pretty devastating, whether or not you have 5 or 6 3/3s. So I think I would just go Shard Shatter Hero Power Face here.
I mean, it's the difference of 2 though, right? You get to shuffle 2 more in after 1 is destroyed, so like...
I mean, but you only get 6 max, and he has 5 in the deck right now.
But
6 summons, Matt.
1 will be eaten up, right, by the Shard Shatter, so it goes down
you're
to
right,
4.
right. That's true.
And I mean, you're obviously expecting a Brawl to clear or a Barov to clear it, so it's... I think I can understand holding on to it here, just because whether you have 4, 5, or even 6, it's likely to just be cleared off.
Yeah. We have so many cards, but no nice plays. And the Ankar is also somewhat of an issue with hand space.
Mm.
We could be looking at a very low impact shield slam just to get it out of hand.
I wonder.
It's just so awkward with the mana. Like, you really don't want to be spending 3 on Hero Power Shield Slam here.
I must choose.
He can go shield block to fill out the rest of the turn.
I just want to get Wrench Caliber down on this turn. Like, I don't care about Pirates anymore. I want to get swinging and actually getting bombs in my opponent's deck so that you can re-equip with Horde Pillager. I understand that this
That's fair.
is probably the safer way to go about it because you are tanking a lot of damage right now, but again, you want to get these swings done as soon as possible.
So your line was just override the Ankar and swing into.
Yeah, I think so,
I
and
think
then
that's
Hero
very
Power.
fair, but if you go down to 14, that also feels pretty scary. I just really
Agreed.
just like the idea of face tanking any minion at this point for Tyler, but whether or not he goes for that, DawN with the re-equipped Barrow Slicer is an absolute backbreaker.
This is the punish for DawN's line of play here, in a way, I suppose. Like, Tyler probably does end up hero powering at the end here, so he would have had the mana to go for Shield Slam anyway. But it's worth considering that DawN could have thrown in a Twin Slice at the end to delete all the armor from his opponent and maybe stodge up their mana.
The Soul Fragment draw is very important now that DawN only has 3 in the deck.
Wow.
Still a very threatening board and probably still eats the same answers that Tyler would go for regardless.
Yeah.
DawN there, I was really interested in Coin Hero Power swing phase, to be honest.
Ooh.
I'm just smelling blood here and just being able to fit in the extra hero power every turn. Look tempting.
I mean, he I think, is clearly recognizing that some kind of heal is likely to come down soon. Tyler's drawn a lot of cards here with all of those Ankar swings. Armor Smith plus Risky Skip is getting more and more likely. He might just have to try and go for a board control route to get the win. I don't know.
Maybe. And Deathwing was the one answer where the amount of 3/3s you summon was a big deal there, because that was the exact size of board where Deathwing gets rid of everything. So DawN is not able to stick any minion presence, gets the worst result off of Wand Maker.
Yeah.
Now it's back to the drawing board.
He did also play that out quite quickly. I was definitely looking at playing out the Shard Shatter first, purely to get a 3-2 on board. Again, you know that the Risky Skippers are in hand, but I guess you can clear up afterwards with the Shard Shatter. Kind of close.
Tyler is safely out of range now.
Mm-hmm.
So outs for DawN. I'm already looking at Magtheridon type things.
Wow, yeah.
Or just Skull of Gul'dan into the Lapidary's runner.
It's approaching that point. If he can get Skull into a bunch of Soul Shard Lapidaries, then, maybe we're looking at a way for this to be cleared up.
Well, for now, he has a way of spending mana, right? With the weapon and hero power. It's not a significant weapon, but you can't ignore the extra 4 damage.
Yeah, no weapon destruction in Tyler's list, so I don't really see much reason to not just throw it down now and pray that you get Skull off the top.
I also don't know what this coin has been doing for DawN, to be honest.
Very true.
Yeah, at this point for Tyler, given that he has Brawl in hand, probably doesn't want to expend a weapon charge on a minion instead. And even if it's not Brawl, it could be Skipper Barov. I'm just looking at Tyler trying to turbo out the Galakrond and push the clock onto DawN's side. That is one of the worst draws in the deck right now. Right.
Absolutely disastrous for DawN, but I agree with you on the assumption of Tyler's plays 100%, or the assessment, I should say. The game plan has shifted. He's the aggressor now. Galakron closes out the game. Brawl Barov clears any board that's generated. It's looking extremely favored for Tyler now.
If we're talking about philosophy at this point, it might just be like philosophy Magtheridon as the out here.
Does that... I mean, I guess that works, right? I've never seen that before, but...
I don't know.
Magtheridon, it is a demon. So you can have two 13/13 Magtheridons that would like...
Right. It's more the copy effect that I was after.
Right. Like, you have to play them at once as well, or they destroy each other? Maybe you can board lock your opponent? I don't even know.
I have no idea, Daruk. More realistically, it's probably hitting the other Glavebound and Lapidary sooner rather than later, but it really does not feel like DawN will have time. Tyler now has Blastmaster Boom.
Oh, yeah.
Not
That's
immediately blowing everything up with Skipper because
don't need to.
it's not reasonably likely that it would kill DawN immediately.
All right.
Oh,
Plenty of armor gain on this turn, right? I mean, yes, another weapon is Disaster Town, but 8 attack gain here. You can swing face for a pretty impressive amount of damage.
It's true.
Oh, look, it's Tyler's baby cousin on stream.
I think her name's Lana, right? Oh, dude. Not
Nephew?
cousin.
Not cousin,
Niece.
yeah. Niece, yeah, I forgot how family relations work.
Okay, all the way back up to 18. 4 bombs on board, plus the weapon is another 7 damage. Each bomb likely to deal 2.5, so it's not that likely to be lethal this turn. Oh, that's an upgrade.
Upgrade for
he has
what?
Galakron.
4 damage. Galakron gets him up to 7. You can't activate the bombs and get all of that in.
Yeah. You probably still just Galakron for the armor. Like, Hero Power, then Galakron, and the upgrade. Call it a day.
Man, it's getting a little close, though. Like, I am just wondering if going upgrade Bladestorm is your best chance. There's a whole bunch of bombs in the deck as well at this point.
What now?
True. There are 3 bombs in the deck currently. He can put another one in. But if he just goes up to 13, does DawN realistically have a way of killing him next turn? You know that the card in hand is Coin and a 1-cost spell, so the other Twin Slice is potentially very scary.
That's fair. That's fair. If it was another Twin Slice in hand, he would have just played it, right?
Not necessarily. Like,
probably, though.
If you wanted to maximize healing, I guess it's more likely that he does play it to just get more healing.
Yeah. Oh!
Is that a Glavebound?
Oh!
With Marrow Slicer, it's a little bit short.
9 damage, not quite getting there.
Tyler's got it in the bag.
Yes, he just does. I think you can heal for 3 here to go up to 15, and maybe where DawN is sat from, he doesn't just die, but I think that's very, very unlikely.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he still takes the out, no matter how unlikely it is. You could argue for Glavebound into Bomb, but I don't like that argument.
Me neither.
Just try and make the Glavebound eat the bomb damage, plus you save yourself the 1 attack from the actual Kaboom bot.
Oh, my God, yeah,
he
she
does
did it.
Okay. I mean, both of the lines, he was
Yeah.
very unlikely to survive the turn.
Bish bash bosh. It's just got to be lethal with Brawl, right?
Yep.
I'll show you who's boss.
Or Barov, even better.
It is
literally has to
100%.
be
Even if
lethal.
all the boom bots deal 1, you still have hero power plus the wrench caliber, 7 damage. And the boom bots did it anyway.
There it is, Uncle Tyler getting up a nice win and going 2-1 in the series up against DawN. It would be quite the weekend for him if he can get, as we were saying earlier on, the win against Chonsu in a very, I mean, I'm going to say theoretically an unfavored series against Chonsu. Not wanting to rag on his decks too much, but that gets a little bit murky. Up against DawN here, though, of course, it's much of a closer affair. And it is looking at the moment like with the Mage and the Demon Hunter left, I think that Tyler is probably in a good spot here, only the Mage needing to get a win, but he's got a bad matchup first up against the Demon Hunter.
That's right. DawN is just going to start off with his better matchup before leading into, in most cases, a mirror. But although this weekend we've kept on saying that Demon Hunter is a great matchup into Mage, I think we've seen a fair amount of Mages turning the matchup on its head. Whether that's because the Demon Hunters have been playing in a less aggressive fashion than you and I might prefer is up for debate. But I'm curious to see how DawN pilots this matchup in particular, because I think his Demon Hunter play so far has been not 100%, but still more in line with what I would expect from the deck than some other players.
Agreed. Yeah, I think he's been putting in the reps here. The Mage was where I think things were a little bit more fishy for me, but his overall understanding, I think, of when to trade, when to go face, does feel for the most part on point. And that is really the key skill for me with the deck on Demon Hunter. Lining things up now, Panther, I guess a decent way to start. And Tyler, I think in keeping the Wand Maker, does just clearly indicate he wants a curve starting can, just to develop minions, and he got that.
That is fair. For DawN, though, the hand is not really looking up to the best curve. Like, obviously, ideally, you want to get Mana Feeder plus the hero power down.
Yeah.
But it can be very slow in this matchup. The pickup on Spirit Jailer changes everything, though.
Oh
Activates
my
the
god.
Shard Shatter Mystic. Oh man,
That
already
is
such a different story.
the god tier draw.
Job's done.
Now, we've talked a lot about 2-3 River Croc. DawN is not a fan, though.
Yeah, I think especially now that you found the second one here, like you, for the most part, I think can give up on the Shard Shatter plan. Not as a bad thing, but as a good thing. You're literally just winning on board at the moment.
And also, it's not even giving up on it if you have Magtheridon in your back pocket. Maybe you just save it for that.
Ugh.
Expensive and understated. Another missiles, I think?
It's free.
Yeah, he could just like play them both out and in a fair amount of cases clear the whole board.
Yeah. Gotta be Ice Barrier, right?
Sorry, I see a box. Yeah, probably Ice Barrier.
I wonder.
But I do see a box.
I love that your gameplay with
Tyler
Mage.
Season 2.
Oh my god.
Tyler
Why
Season
do I
2.
bother? Why do I even bother? This Mage
I don't know,
gameplay
Derek.
is literally the same as like Homer Simpson in the power plant with the duck that just like pushes the button over and over to not blow it up. Like, you just see box, you click it. Like, you don't even have to be thinking with this deck.
I mean, it's not wrong or right to pick box versus barrier there, right? It's just
Yes, it is.
how you assess how the matchup is gonna go. Tyler might be thinking barrier's not enough to get me the win, because
Fine.
prior to that turn, he didn't have Giant in hand, he didn't have evocation or card draw. He might have been thinking that he was just that far behind.
Tyler's just straight up a streamer, dude. This man has never played a day of competitive Hearthstone in his life. He's here for the show.
What to do?
Streaming
Obviously.
and competitive Hearthstone are not mutually exclusive.
Exactly. I'm obviously being facetious here. Like, I still do think that for me, Puzzle Box was the last one I would have picked. Honestly, I think I was going for a Pexis Blast before I was going for Puzzle Box because it has the utility of playing aggressive for face damage, and it also can be used to just clear off a Glavebound or a Soul Shard in the mid game.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. It's going to be a long time before this box is playable. And Tyler's just played out second Apprentice here to take as aggressive of a stance on the board as possible, leading up into Mana Giant. And DawN, based on his facial expression, was not happy about this turn, but he can just go Shard Shatter Hero Power to deal with this. I guess he's more stressed out about not having a clean answer to Giant for the next turn. Which he actually kind of does if he sticks Shard Shatter, right? You just go Lapidary to follow up.
What? I mean, is this the last shard in his deck, so he doesn't want to play it before Soul Shard?
He has 2 fragments.
He has 2.
Yeah, I don't know. Giant's just sticking now. I think more possibly he was holding onto Shard Shatter to pair with Magtheridon later on, but I don't like that kind of thinking. Yeah. I don't like it.
Yeah, I definitely don't like it. I think that was just like proactive development, clear the board. It's everything you want.
Anyway, he can still get rid of the Giant. Shard Shatter and Twin Slice. And Hero Power gets the job. Oh, wow. DawN, hold up! Hold up!
Oh my god.
He's just gonna tank more damage because he is able to heal back up next turn.
Okay, Tyler can't get Polymorph here to poly one of the 1/3s. Is there anything else he could get for 3 or less mana that answers one of them?
No.
There's nothing, right?
Nope.
Okay.
I wonder.
Do you still take the Wand Thief activation here?
Wait,
Probably
I
not.
think you probably save it because you expect the whole board to get swept up next turn. And you can still do this turn and try to hit Polymorph for the Magtheridon on the next turn. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, and in that world, you end up with a 2/2 and a 1/2 on board.
I am just going to say again as well, I know he can't have envisaged this circumstance, but look how nice an Apexis Blast would be here with this hand.
You're right.
Although, I mean, I guess
But let's
even
be real, we both would have taken Barrier there.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I would have taken Barrier. And to be fair, Barrier very possibly would have been wrong. Like, upon a closer inspection, Tyler was playing the aggro game plan. If you're taking this much damage and you don't have a board, you're going to lose no matter how much health you have.
But there's worlds where he can survive till turn 10.
Fair enough. Maybe it's
He
just
can
right.
Freeze this guy for a while. If that's how you want to interpret it, then be my guest star. Oh, wow. DawN is taking maximum healing here. He is afraid of whatever it is that Tyler discovered a couple turns ago.
I like it. There's 2 random mage spells in hand. Like, you're not going to get that much more life gain now. Later, if you save the Soul Shard, just take it while you can.
Probably ping the 1/3. And Tyler's list does not have the Cobalt Spellkin, so he can just use Earth's Breath without feeling bad about it right now.
Yeah, it's really... Oh, sorry, only 1 Thief and the Mana Cyclone that you'd be saving it for there.
Hold on a little longer, Tyler. A little longer for
He's
this box.
so close.
1
Frost
Nova,
Nova?
please. Claymore?
Ooh.
Pretty good.
Yep, you take the Flame
Claymore.
Ward.
Freeze the 12/12, ping the Militia.
Ping Militia again next turn. You have to tank 12, obviously. Like, at the moment, he's just dead. He needs something extra.
Yep. One more trick off the top into a Nova. Wait, but DawN still has so much burst in hand as well. Yeah, Tyler never gets there.
So 8 damage this turn. Nothing that can get there quite yet. So we're just still setting up, trying to get as much damage as we can to the face. Correct attack.
Main Marrow Slicer is backbreaking. Just has this Soul Shard Lapidary in hand for the next turn, so even if Tyler hits a freeze effect, that's game.
You don't pick the
Why
one.
not Marrow Slice? Well, he can still go for it. Yeah, that's fine, I guess. Slicer.
Okay, I guess this
Wait.
does this play around Ray of Frost? It doesn't, right? No.
I mean, he still has lethal in hand on the
Yes,
next turn
yeah,
after
yeah.
having picked up that slice, but I just like the idea of getting all your Marrow Slice charges done sooner rather than later. Obviously, the whole story of that game, though, was mainly on Tyler's Discover pick.
Right.
Picked a box, we saw a box, and it was never opened.
Right. It was kind of... It was interesting how you approach it, right? Because Ice Barrier, in a way, was the pessimistic pick, because you're saying, I'm going to be taking a lot of damage, I have to play defensively. Apexis Blast was, in a way, the optimistic pick, because you're going super aggressive. But Puzzle Box also, in a way, was kind of just the pessimistic pick. You're saying, like, the only way I'm winning this is by somehow crawling to turn 10 and then throwing down a Puzzle Box rather than taking damage to complement my game plan, or life gain, in a way, to complement my game plan as well. I'm still sus. I'm not 100% convinced
Yeah.
at all that that was the way to go.
It was the chaotic pick, that's for
Yes.
sure. Upon closer inspection, I would have to agree it was going to be a very, very long time before Tyler had the mana to play Puzzle Box. At the hand state that he had for that particular turn, he needed either card draw or just a way to close out the game, because he did decide to commit to double Apprentice earlier on. So I liked where your head was at for landing on the Apexis Blast as the best pick in that situation. But I feel like it would be the least likely pick when you just think about the matchup in other
Right.
iterations.
Yes, for sure. You know, you have to be adaptable. You can't just apply the usual knowledge that you've got in all these matchups 100% of the time. You have to be able to adapt, as I think, Tyler was going for there, even if I disagree with the end result that he decided upon. We were kind of expecting that to happen, though, with the not-so-great matchup for Mage up against Demon Hunter. And so in the end, Gia, it all comes down. Final game of the day here for APAC, a Mage Mirror. Lists are a little bit different, of course, for DawN and Tyler, with DawN going kind of in with the Dragon's plan. He's got Cobalt Spellkins, but only one Arcane Breath, whereas Tyler's got the kind of more just like standard version that some of the EU GMs have been preferring.
And for how often APAC players have been bringing Tempo Mage, it feels like we don't actually run into the mirror all that often because of the nature of Conquest as a format. And so we have finally arrived at what I believe is prime time, however you want to interpret that.
Indeed. Nice start, though, for Tyler, absolutely, here, with obviously Coin Double Wand Thief available, Primordial Studies Wand Thief, probably are holding onto the coin here with Raz in hand to try and get that down. But the point is, plenty of ways to spend his mana at the start, proactively on minions.
For DawN, though, very interesting that he has Shanvala on the play here, and Tyler currently doesn't have a great way of putting attack on the board. Well, that's one way, but I feel like he would definitely not want to go for Apprentice this turn. So it's likely that we're going to see a Shanvala go relatively unchallenged.
Easy lab partner. Whether or not you throw it down is up for debate, I suppose.
I like holding on to it just for a coin Raz plus spell damage minion guaranteed play on turn 4. That could be very, very powerful. Intellect is where I would land
Runs out on me.
with this pick.
Probably yes. It's close.
I think Tyler can put together a game plan in most iterations where he takes a draw and then holds on to the Raz plus lab partner as an unexpected swing turn.
Yeah.
Granted, it's worse against specifically this type of Shanvala play from DawN.
So DawN has some information, of course. Arcane Missiles is in hand with spell damage, means that even with just Missiles ping plus a double trade, it's pretty likely that Shanvala dies. But even having put all of that together, I still like his plan of just playing it out here.
That's right, because holding onto it is very likely going to put you even farther behind. You just take Shanvala as 3 mana 2/5, and in some worlds it has bigger upside. Oh, one missile hit. Yikes. Let's go fishing with one thief now. A box!
Wait, he's been looking at this for 3 seconds already. There must be a bug. He didn't pick box? Hello? I'm
Jarek
so
wants a
upset.
refund.
I'm so upset, Gia. Like, not even because I want him to pick box here, just because it makes the box pick in the last game even more ridiculous.
Yeah. Fair. That is, you know, not a logical way of approaching it from Tyler, but I understand your rage. This draw from DawN is huge, though. That's a guaranteed way of getting the Shenvala activation. Granted, it was still likely to go off because he has Magic Trick. So I think you still start with the Trick here.
Yeah.
These are not targets that you want to ray across. Okay.
Kill plus the missiles, I guess. Sure.
And just ending with one. Okay, this does give him, on average, a much stronger board presence. Wow, that's how you do missiles, Tyler.
Whoa, that's kind of tough. Probably learn Draconic, actually, I think. Yeah.
The Conjurer's Calling. That could be an easy way to activate it by turn 6.
What makes something
Pretty clutch top deck. Gives him some kind of way to proactively develop onto the board and pray that he can wrestle this back. And Tundra Rhino is so close to killing off the Shenvala on the other side.
So close. I'm sorry, but with the amount of sticky fingers we've seen this weekend, I just cannot stop myself from laughing every time it gets generated one way or another.
Tyler can't get rid of them. It's as if his fingers are too sticky.
How do you... I'm not sure what the pick is here. I would lean towards Rhino and then just send it face, just because the Rhino lines up so poorly against the 5/5 anyway.
I guess, yeah.
time runs out on me?
I mean, can you ever... Because you have to bear in mind you have Raz next turn, so there's some benefit to just putting Shenvala to 1 guaranteed.
There is, but if you hit anything with the Rhino, you immediately give DawN the information which one the illusion is.
Wow.
Okay. I don't know, this is just a ping away from a full clear for DawN, right?
Yeah.
Ping double trades.
And I do just think, like, looking at how things play out next turn, is there anything other than Raz, unless you're hoping for a miracle top deck? Like, I think even with this play, you're kind of supposed to bump it into Shenvala.
Yeah, there's nothing. Evocation, I suppose, is the miracle. And you hardly have any mana to work with at that point.
Yeah, maybe you say you're just losing unless you hit Evocation anyway, which is kind of reasonable, honestly.
Man, that arcane missile is missing at the beginning.
Ludicrous.
Dictated the entire outcome of this game.
Oh, Nova's good.
Time runs out on
Trade on Jandis to prevent a good conch target.
Agreed. Alright, well, to be fair to Tyler, the Raz plan kind of worked out anyway, about as well as you can expect with this line.
True mastery takes dedication.
I mean, the fancy play there was going Conjurer's Calling on your sticky finger and hitting Raz, but I accept this as a backup line.
Acceptable. And for DawN, threat never stopped. The turn is so good that he even turns down 3 mana Giant.
Yeah, I mean, you get the 6/6, you get 2 5 drops. So impressive here. It's gonna have to be a miracle from Tyler.
Blizzard is a lifeline for this turn. He still has Evocation as a top deck for the next turn, and now he's sitting on double Mana Giant and Conjurer's Calling. So obviously it looks terrible for Tyler, but not 0% just yet.
Definitely not 0. He just needs 1 extra turn because Giant Conjurer's Calling isn't available on the following turn. I mean, you put it perfectly. He just needs that Evocation to buy him the turn.
Available for DawN, though, pushing the initiative really, really hard here. What? Double Giant rather than a Conj?
Wow, okay.
I don't know what the upside of this is. If you're trying to play around removal or freeze, isn't it better to just hold on to one copy of each of the combo instead of double
Yeah.
minion?
16, there's simply lethal on board whether or not you ping the Phoenix, the Allah. In which case, you have to...
You know
Conjurer's
what
Calling.
the mana cost on this is? On the 0-3? I guess it's
I
a
have no
2-drop.
idea.
He's looking for Doomsayer. That must be out.
You win.
Oh
It's
no,
a
it's a 1-drop. Okay.
And it's just too much for Tyler. My heart goes out to him. It was a tough way to go out. The missiles missing, as I suppose is kind of in the name, putting the miss back in missiles. But DawN does end up coming out the victor there. It was a bit of a shaky road to get there, as we've sometimes seen from DawN. But I think in the end there, in that particular game, it was just some very, very clean play for the most part, getting down the Shenvala, even though he knew it could die. And it was fringe, the outcome that he was playing to, but it just instantly won him the game.
Absolutely. From Tyler, I really liked what I saw also from the Priest game in particular. We can keep memeing about the puzzle box pick in the second game.
Yeah.
But I think it really goes to show that Tyler at heart wants to give us a good show, which I always appreciate. And also from Chonsu later, earlier on this weekend up against Tyler, even though he took kind of a very sad yet entertaining loss to watch. He
Right.
remained a great sport about it. So overall, I've had tons of fun this weekend.
I have as well. And I don't think Tyler can be too sad. Going 1-1 again in this week is not particularly impressive, but nothing too devastating. And if you're in Division A, hovering in the middle of the pack, perfectly good enough, as Tyler is doing here. 2-2. Obviously, it gets a little bit weird when we start factoring